There was a time when TGI Fridays wasn't just a restaurant, it was the place to be. Whether it was after work, for a birthday, or just Friday night drinks, walking into a Fridays felt like stepping into a party. Loud music, clinking glasses, bartenders flipping bottles, and servers decked out in red and white stripes with flair on their suspenders. It was cool, energetic, and uniquely American. But fast forward to today and it's a different story. Dozens of locations have closed, the crowds are gone, the vibe is off, and what was once a booming bar and grill empire is now seen as outdated and forgettable. So what exactly happened? How did a brand that pioneered casual dining fall so hard? This is the story of the rise, the turning point, and the downfall of TGI Fridays, and whether it can still make a comeback. The rise of a cultural phenomenon. TGI Fridays started with one man's simple goal, to meet women. Seriously. In 1965, Alan Stillman, a 28-year-old perfume salesman in New York City, opened the first TGI Fridays on the corner of 63rd Street and 1st Avenue in Manhattan. His inspiration wasn't driven by food or hospitality, it was about social connection. He noticed there were very few places where young, single men and women could casually interact outside of nightclubs or private parties. So he created something brand new, a restaurant that felt like a house party, complete with good food, strong drinks, and an energetic vibe. And it worked. That first location wasn't just a hit, it was a revolution. The concept of a singles bar hadn't really existed before, and Fridays filled that cultural gap perfectly. The decor was cozy and playful, with stained glass lamps, wooden paneling, red and white striped awnings, and quirky memorabilia that gave each restaurant a signature personality. It wasn't luxury dining, but it wasn't fast food either. It was something entirely different from what we now know as casual dining. Fridays quickly caught fire. By the early 1970s, it was franchising across the U.S., opening locations in major cities like Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, Atlanta, and Chicago. It wasn't just about expansion, it was about creating an experience that could be replicated anywhere. By the late 1980s, TGI Fridays had planted its flag internationally, opening restaurants in the UK, Japan, and the Middle East, bringing the American bar and grill experience to a global stage. It was one of the first true American casual dining chains to go worldwide. By the 1990s, TGI Fridays had over 10 locations across more than 60 countries. The brand had become a cultural juggernaut, going head-to-head with other rising giants like Applebee's, Chili's, and Outback Steakhouse. But what set Fridays apart was its soul. It wasn't just a place to eat, it was a place to celebrate. People came for birthdays, anniversaries, first dates, or just to kick back after a long work week. It wasn't uncommon for a TGI Fridays on a Friday night to have a wait list and a packed bar until closing. At its peak, the company was raking in over $2 billion, 0 cents, in annual revenue. Fridays even shaped how casual dining looked and felt. From servers wearing flare-covered suspenders to the upbeat, party-like atmosphere filled with music and laughter, Fridays became the blueprint for a new kind of restaurant experience. Many brands that followed borrowed this formula. But behind all the excitement and global expansion, subtle cracks were beginning to form. The world was changing, and Fridays didn't see it coming. The turning point: too much expansion, not enough innovation. By the early 2000s, TGI Fridays had seemingly conquered the casual dining world. But while the brand was riding high, underneath the surface, things were beginning to unravel. And it all started with a classic mistake: confusing growth with success. Fridays went all in on expansion. More franchises, more countries, more locations everywhere. But what they didn't do was evolve. The energy that once made Fridays feel like a fresh, exciting experience started to fade. Consumers were changing. Millennials and younger generations were looking for something more modern, more authentic, and more health-conscious. They wanted fresh ingredients, customizable menus, and a vibe that felt less corporate and more personal. Fridays, on the other hand, was stuck in the past. While its competitors like Chili's and Applebee's began to update their interiors, simplify their menus, and embrace digital ordering systems, Fridays still leaned heavily on the formula that made it successful in the 80s and 90s. The problem? that formula was outdated. Diners weren't interested in flare-covered suspenders and wall-to-wall kitsch anymore. What used to be charming and energetic now felt cheesy and forced. Fridays also failed to innovate its menu. While competitors were experimenting with international flavors, plant-based options, and healthier alternatives, Fridays kept rolling out oversized burgers and fried appetizers. The brand's reliance on deep-fried, heavy comfort food began to work against it. With the rise of fast-casual brands like Chipotle, Panera, and Shake Shack offering fresher, more transparent food experiences, Fridays started to look like a relic from another era. And let's not forget tech. Fridays was slow to embrace the digital shift. Online ordering, mobile loyalty programs, third-party delivery, and strong social media presence. Fridays was behind on all of it. In the digital age, this was more than just a missed opportunity. It was a threat to survival. While customers were flocking to trendy, tech-savvy upstarts, Fridays kept playing the same old tune, and fewer people were showing up to dance. The downfall, a perfect storm of problems. Fridays didn't fall overnight. It was a slow unraveling. Years of poor adaptation, constant leadership changes, and conflicting strategies left the brand without clear direction. As ownership shifted from Carlson to Sentinel to Tri-Artisan, each brought new plans but no lasting vision. Franchisees were frustrated, customers lost interest, and the once strong identity of Fridays started to fade. Then came COVID-19, a devastating blow for a brand built on dine-in crowds and bar culture. Lockdowns emptied restaurants, alcohol sales plummeted, and while Fridays scrambled to roll out curbside pickup and delivery, competitors like Chili's and Outback were already steps ahead with polished off-premise operations. Fridays was left playing catch-up in a game that had already changed. Then came the shrinking footprint, a silent but steady collapse that signaled just how far Fridays had fallen from its golden era. Back in its heyday, the brand boasted more than 1,000 restaurants across 61 countries, a symbol of American casual dining gone global. But by 2023, that number had plunged to under 650, and the trend was only getting worse. In January 2024, TGI Fridays made headlines again, not for a new launch or bold comeback, but for shutting down 36 underperforming U.S. locations, cutting over 10 jobs in the process. Many of these restaurants were long-standing neighborhood spots, but rising labor costs, inflated ingredient prices, and dwindling traffic made them impossible to keep open. The brand also lost its identity. Was it a fun bar with food, a family-friendly restaurant, a sports hangout? Nobody really knew. The inconsistency diluted the brand, and customers, confused and unimpressed, simply moved on. What happens next? Can Fridays make a comeback? TGI Fridays is down but not out. With new leadership under CEO Ray Blanchette, who has history with the brand, there's a push to bring Fridays back to its roots, but with a modern twist. The strategy? Smaller, sleeker locations, simplified menus, and faster service. One concept, Fridays on the Fly, aims to tap into the fast casual market and attract younger, tech-savvy customers. Digital upgrades are also in motion. From better mobile apps to loyalty programs and smoother delivery systems, Fridays is slowly catching up to industry standards. On the food front, they're introducing new cocktails, plant-based dishes, and global flavors in an attempt to stay relevant. But the challenge is steep. Winning back old fans is one thing, getting Gen Z to care is another. Still, nostalgia could be Friday's secret weapon. If they can blend the old-school charm with today's expectations, cleaner branding, a cooler vibe, and fresher food, there's hope for a revival. But it's a tight race, and Fridays can't afford to fall behind again. The rise and fall of TGI Fridays is more than just a story of one brand. It's a lesson for every company. Once a trendsetter, Fridays became just another name in the crowd. Its decline wasn't because people stopped loving fun, but because the brand stopped evolving. But don't count them out yet. With fresh leadership, new ideas, and a focus on what today's consumers want, TGI Fridays could still make a comeback. It'll take innovation and a willingness to embrace change, leaving the past behind to build something new. What do you think? Can Fridays make a comeback, or is it too late for them? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this.